It was the kind of moment daytime TV rarely sees, scripted, unfiltered, and unforgettable. Karoline Leavitt, a rising conservative voice, walked onto The View, fully aware of the trap that had been laid for her. But instead of falling into it, she turned the tables on Whoopi Goldberg, no less, and left millions of viewers stunned up from the moment she was introduced. It was clear the tone was going to be tense. Whoopi's introduction was loaded with passive-aggressive jabs, calling Karoline controversial and extreme, as if she were a threat just for having a different perspective. Normally, that's enough to put any guest on the defensive. But Karoline didn't bite. She looked Whoopi dead in the eye and calmly replied, "It's only controversial to you because I don't agree with your version of America." The silence that followed was deafening. Trying to regain control, Whoopi launched into one of her trademark rants, long, emotional, and sprinkled with the usual progressive buzzwords. She spoke about systemic issues, privilege, trauma, and how conservative movements were pushing people backward. The monologue went on for nearly 3 minutes, uninterrupted. But what she didn't expect was the response. Karoline waited patiently. She didn't interrupt, didn't roll her eyes. She simply let Whoopi talk herself into a corner. Then, with a steady voice and focused delivery, she responded, "Whoopi, with all due respect, what you're describing is your reality, not America's. You sit here every day telling millions of people how oppressed you are. From a multi-million-dollar studio, wearing designer clothes, with every corporation backing your ideology." A ripple went through the studio. The audience wasn't sure whether to clap or hold their breath. Even Joy Behar shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Then came the hammer. Karoline added, "Real oppression is being silenced for your beliefs. It's having your bank freeze the account because you supported the wrong cause. It's being labeled a threat just for disagreeing." That's when Whoopi lost it. Her face tensed, her voice raised. She waved her hand dismissively and said, "You don't know what you're talking about, girl. It was the wrong thing to say." Karoline immediately shot back, "Calling me girl while dismissing my opinion isn't empowering, it's condescending." And with that, the audience flipped. Applause broke out. It wasn't just Karoline's words, it was her composure. She wasn't emotional, she wasn't reactive. She was surgical. Whoopi, visibly shaken, started fumbling her words. She attempted another rant but stumbled. Her co-hosts tried to pivot, to interrupt, to redirect, but Karoline wasn't letting go. She doubled down, calmly stating facts about crime, education, and inflation, all while keeping her cool. Every time Whoopi or Joy tried to interrupt, Karoline overpowered them, not by shouting but by refusing to be rattled. Then came the moment no one could have predicted. Whoopi stood up, took off her mic, and declared, "I'm not going to sit here and be disrespected in my own house." Karoline, without missing a beat, replied, "It's not your house, Whoopi. It belongs to the American people." That line was the knockout punch. The studio erupted. Some cheered, others gasped. But the energy had shifted entirely. For the first time in years, Whoopi Goldberg walked off the set of The View, not during a commercial break, not behind the scenes, but right in the middle of a live taping. And it wasn't because of technical issues, it was because she got challenged and lost. Clips of the exchange exploded online within minutes. Twitter lit up, TikTok blew up with reaction videos. Conservative commentators praised Karoline for keeping her composure while dismantling one of the most iconic liberal voices in mainstream media. Even some liberal voices admitted that Whoopi's reaction looked weak, emotional, and unprofessional. And as the dust settled, something even more interesting happened. ABC's producers tried to downplay the whole incident, releasing a statement about spirited debate and passionate conversation. But the viewers weren't fooled. They saw exactly what happened. And more importantly, they remembered it. Karoline Leavitt's performance wasn't just a win for her personally, it was a seismic shift in how younger conservatives are entering the arena, calm, prepared, focused. She didn't scream, she didn't whine, she didn't resort to cheap shots. She used reason, composure, and conviction, and it worked. Meanwhile, Whoopi, who has spent decades building herself as a nonsense, truth-speaking figure, looked unhinged, defensive, and, most devastatingly, outmatched. Her usual tactics of emotional dominance and guilt-based arguments fell flat, because by the time Karoline Leavitt stepped off the View stage, her name was already trending in over a dozen states. Clips of her calm, devastating takedown of Whoopi Goldberg had been cut, subtitled, remixed, and blasted across every social platform imaginable. But while the public was still buzzing about what had just happened live on air, something even more explosive was brewing behind the scenes, something that neither Karoline nor Whoopi could fully control anymore. Inside ABC Studios, chaos quietly took hold. The control room, which had fumbled the commercial cue as Whoopi stormed off, now faced harsh questions from executives. According to leaked emails, producers were split. Some believed Karoline had humiliated the show, others quietly admitted she brought the most energy they'd seen in months. One source described the aftermath as tense and divided, with Whoopi refusing to return to the post-show briefing and Joy Behar visibly rattled. But Karoline, she didn't gloat, she didn't post a victory tweet. She went radio silent. That silence spoke louder than any mic drop ever could. Back home, her team fielded non-stop phone calls. Conservative commentators praised her as fearless, Independent outlets applauded her composure, and even some moderate liberals begrudgingly admitted she had held her ground with rare poise and control. It wasn't just what she said, it was how she said it without theatrics, without panic. It was surgical. And then came the media spin. Liberal talk shows scrambled to frame the event as a disrespectful ambush. Several articles accused Karoline of invading a safe space with aggressive talking points. One even compared her appearance to a political stunt. But the clips told a different story, one that millions had already watched for themselves. America had seen what really happened. No filters, no edits, no out of context headlines. Just the truth, live on camera. And that's when the shockwave hit mainstream news. Major networks began replaying the segment. Even outlets that usually ignored The View started airing it in full. Fox News, naturally, ran with it, but so did CNN, MSNBC, and international broadcasters from the UK to Australia. For 48 hours straight, the clip was everywhere, and the narrative shifted. Suddenly, the question wasn't did Karoline go too far, it became why did Whoopi walk off when faced with simple disagreements. Meanwhile, ABC executives, realizing the PR storm they were now navigating, tried to regain control. They issued a vague statement about encouraging diverse dialogue and welcoming all perspectives, but the damage was done. The public wasn't buying the corporate speak. They saw a young woman walk into hostile territory, challenge a cultural icon, and walk out not just standing but stronger. The pressure mounted. Whoopi Goldberg didn't return to The View for 2 full episodes. Sources close to the show say she was furious and blamed producers for letting the moment spiral. One insider revealed that Whoopi even considered stepping away permanently if Karoline or anyone like her was ever invited back. But ABC had a problem. The ratings Karoline's segment had done what no amount of celebrity gossip or political grandstanding had managed in months. It sparked real conversation. The numbers didn't lie. Viewership spiked, engagement tripled, and social media buzz around The View reached a 2-year high. So, in a move no one predicted, ABC quietly extended an invitation to Karoline for a one-on-one appearance on a primetime news segment. This wasn't damage control, this was strategy. They knew controversy sold, but more importantly, they knew Karoline had become the story. Karoline, ever strategic, didn't immediately respond. Instead, she did something far more powerful. She took her message directly to the people. Just days after the infamous segment aired, Karoline appeared on a college panel at a university not known for conservative views. Hundreds of students showed up, and thousands more tuned in online. What they witnessed wasn't just another political speech, it was clarity. Standing at the podium, Karoline addressed the elephant in the room head-on. "I didn't walk onto The View to win," she said. "I walked on to tell the truth, and I didn't disrespect anyone. I simply refused to be bullied into silence. That's not extremism, that's courage." The crowd applauded. But she didn't stop there. For too long, she continued, "We've been told that disagreement is hate, that if you question the narrative, you're dangerous, that if you push back, you're attacking democracy. That's nonsense. Disagreement is not a threat, it's the foundation of freedom." Her words hit like thunder. The clips from that speech went viral again, not for theatrics but for clarity, for guts, for truth. And then, something even more unexpected happened. A growing number of moderate liberals, especially younger women, began publicly supporting Karoline, not because they agreed with every policy she supported, but because they respected her strength. They saw a woman who wouldn't be talked down to, who didn't crumble under pressure, who didn't play the victim card. They saw it resonated. Back at The View, the atmosphere had changed. Whoopi returned to her chair, but her tone was different. Gone was the condescension. Gone was the smug certainty. She addressed the incident briefly, saying only, "I don't always agree with how people present their truth, but I believe everyone deserves to speak." It was a vague attempt at grace, but few were convinced. Meanwhile, Karoline was just getting started. Podcast appearances, college debates, speaking tours, book offers, even whispers of a documentary crew following her next moves. And through it all, one thing became increasingly clear: this wasn't just a viral moment. This was a pivot point, a cultural reset. People were tired of scripted outrage, tired of television bullies, tired of being told what to think. Karoline's moment represented something bigger, the re-emergence of authentic, fearless debate, not performance. Not outrage, but genuine, unapologetic courage. And as invitations from both liberal and conservative platforms continued pouring in, Karoline made her next major move. She launched an independent media project, a platform built for honest conversation, where voices from all sides could challenge each other without fear of cancellation or distortion. She called it Unscripted. And the mission? Simple: bring truth back into the spotlight. As for The View, their ratings saw a temporary bump, but the credibility hit lingered. Whoopi's walk-off remained a sore spot. The viral moment, once thought to be a passing controversy, had now become a cultural reference point. People began asking, is this a View moment or a Karoline moment? And the answer, increasingly, leaned toward the latter, because Karoline Leavitt didn't just win an argument, She exposed a flaw in the system where powerful voices talk down to dissent, where television panels masquerade as debate, and where the truth is often drowned out by applause, signs, and talking points. But not this time. This time, the truth showed up, sat down, and made itself heard. And the world hasn't stopped listening since.